Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Smartest Guy in the Room podcast. I'm your host, Jerry Dempsey. My good buddy, Matt Otis Smith.
Yo.
Say hi, Matt.
Hey.
Hey, today, folks, we got a special guest. I'm going to introduce him. His name is Lucas Daniels. He hosts a podcast himself. He's a student of life, as far as I know. We're very excited to have this guy on the show today because he's got some passions that are similar to mine and Matt's, and staying alive is one of them, right?
Yes. It's pretty big on the list, yeah.
Let's not be remiss. His podcast is the Partial Credit Podcast.
Yep, yeah, me and my co-host Lily.
Yep, on Apple. Check it out. It's good stuff.
Thank you.
So
we try a little bit.
Lucas, so I'm in Albany.
Yes.
And I was surprised when you told me that you grew up outside of Albany and that you went to school at a school by the name of Shenendehowa High School.
Yep.
And for the uninitiated,
it's got to be one of the bigger schools in the Capital Region, right?
It's actually one of the it's one of the biggest schools one of the biggest public high schools in the country.
Yeah.
If you guys had more than 3,000 kids. I mean, and what I found particularly interesting is you live in what's the name of your town in Vermont?
Vershire.
It's I couldn't even find it on a map. But it's in Orange County, Vermont.
Yep.
Not to be confused with Orange County, California. And the high school you went to here is literally 4 times bigger. Just the high school is 4 times bigger than the town you're living in now. Can you talk about your how you transition from
it's
the epitome of suburbia to...
Well, I had a wandering Jones after high school and college, and I spent my college years in the Adirondacks, and then kind of wandered the country for a long time until I met my wife in Oregon. And she's originally from Albany, California, which I always thought was kind of fun. But so we were in California because that's where her family was. And we very quickly realized that the state was on fire. We were never going to be able to afford a house. And, to get acreage, have my own apple orchard and all that kind of stuff, Vermont was the answer. It suits us to grow our own food and sort of live that bucolic life. Vermont was the only option for us.
Where in Vermont? North, south, east, west?
It's very eastern, sort of halfway up the state, about a 40-minute drive to New Hampshire.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I've done a little skiing up there. Are you a skier?
No, I'm not. I'm not really a winter sports guy at all, which I think is hilarious. I do like the snowshoeing, but for us, winter is vacation. And then as soon as spring hits, we're growing and digging holes and moving and shaking.
Do you sell the fruit for a stand or farmers
market? We do a little bit. Actually, I do a mailing list and whatever's available on any given Sunday, and then first come, first serve. This year, we only wanted to raise enough money for our seeds, and so we kind of stopped, and we did most of it as preserving, and we're just getting to the end of our supplies. I'm down to 6 pints of applesauce and 2 squash. So
you're like self-sufficient.
We do pretty well. I mean, I go to the grocery store every 3 weeks or so. But yeah, we work really hard at it. We're only 2 years in. So by 5, 6, 7 years, we should be very self-sufficient. But we're very small.
Door.
Carbon footprint is our main goal. I get my beef from my neighbor across the street.
Holy shit.
That kind of stuff. There's a cattle farm across the street, and we walk over there every few weeks and just Venmo him some money and collect some steaks.
That is so wild to me. Jerry and I grew up in Buffalo where nothing grows.
Yep.
And but Jerry told me that that he grows food, some of his own food. I was impressed.
Did you do like a backyard garden kind of thing?
So I mostly grow peppers, but I have some fruit trees. And what grows here like nobody's business is figs. All
Where are
right.
you, Jerry?
I live in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, that should be really easy.
I mean, you throw stuff in the ground, it grows. But I'm into like hot peppers and all kinds of them. I make chili, but I'm not at all self-sufficient. I spent my entire career selling IT.
Okay.
So I actually lived in California, not too far from where you were in Albany. I lived in Los Gatos
Okay.
for a while. And to your point, yeah, good luck buying property there.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare.
No, I bought 25 acres in Wilson County. It's, it's just in eastern North Carolina, east of Raleigh anyway. And right now I rent it to a farmer. And him and I have some plans about either, when hemp, if and when it takes over growing hemp, that's already got a lot of corporate stuff in on it. But what I really want to do is grow all kinds of fruit trees, but actually sell the trees.
Okay.
So germinate them, grow them from seedlings, and then sell landscape material, shrubs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think our ultimate goal is to go into the seed business.
Right on.
Keep the food for ourselves and sell the seeds. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my God, my computer.
Still sound good though.
Yeah, you sound good.
I live next door to a Hannaford grocery store, and I do, and I'm literally the least self-sufficient person on the planet. Like if you had me go out in the woods, I'd die in like 3 minutes. And I lived in the Adirondacks for 3 years actually. I lived in Wilmington.
Oh, okay.
And because I was working up there, and I thought I was gonna die up there. My son was like 3 months old, and I was like, "Hey, it's every man for himself." Like I don't. So I'm just, I don't know. Knowing that you went to Shen, which did you grow up in Clifton Park, which is like,
for the most part, yeah.
So it wasn't like you didn't grow up in Vischer Ferry, which is rural, or?
No, I was in Ballston Lake.
Okay, all
so
right,
just outside. I mean, it's such a huge school district. I mean, we held our graduation at SPAC at Saratoga.
Yeah,
Arts Center. And I think that's got like a capacity of what, 20,000.
Yeah, you guys graduate where Dave Matthews plays. So I mean, it's just so that whole juxtaposition of like where you grew up and where you live now, and it kind of fascinated me a bit.
Well, I never wanted to be there in the first place. So to get as far removed from that type of life, not to knock it. I still have a lot of friends that live there and raise their families there. But it was just never for me.
I always thought Niskayuna existed to make Clifton Park look edgy. I just going back to your podcast, on your Minnesodes, you talk once in a while about your fascination with this website called Stranger Dimensions.
Yeah, it's some of
my
favorite reading. Sure. Yeah, strangerdimensions.com. It's like all things paranormal. It's I haven't looked at it today, but it's kind of my it's one of my favorite toilet reads, I guess. They cover everything from how many Bigfoot sightings you've seen this year to just ghost stories to alien encounters to and it's just really well written, and it's always really fun. Having never had like a real tangible experience, it's just fun. And
well, you turned me on to that website, and now I've been reading it. I'm not really a paranormal guy, but they write a lot about exorcisms.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of fascinated with exorcisms. And I lived in a dorm in college that supposedly there was an exorcism performed I lived on the 5th floor of the dorm. And after it was performed, I went to a Catholic college, and after it was performed, it was locked for eternity. And, people were prohibited from ever going on the 5th floor. And the priest, this priest at my college who performed The Exorcist, he performed like 3 exorcisms his whole life. And this guy would shake. And I don't really know if I believe in this stuff, but I don't know.
What drew me to the website originally, and really the one thing that I really am fascinated by and love, was time travel stories. And like they really deep dive into certain time travel stories, and they show, there's a lot of great pictures of mummies wearing Adidas and things like that just crack me up, and I have a lot of fun with it. But your mention of exorcisms just reminds me, the movie The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
How recently have you seen that?
I probably see it every 2 years. I don't think I've seen it in a while.
The scene when they have her at the doctor.
Scared me.
That scene where they have her at the doctor.
Yeah.
One of those actors was a serial killer. Did you know that?
No. I
Seriously, look into it. One of the guy that sticks her with a needle was a serial killer in the 70s, and was a part-time actor.
Jerry, do you believe in ghosts?
Do I believe in ghosts?
No, Jerry.
Jerry.
No.
No.
I believe that when you die, you're gone. You go back to where you were before, which is interesting. And Lucas, just to bring you into something, I actually wrote a book, or half a book, like 23,000 words. And last time I shopped it, basically got laughed at. They didn't read it. They just said you have to come back when you have 50,000 words or more.
Okay.
But the premise of this book is about a woman who dies in childbirth and meets her guardian angel, who is the spirit of a child she aborted.
Huh.
It's based on a true story, but the whole premise of meeting her guardian angel goes against what I don't know if I'll put it this way. I don't know what I actually believe. Like, I'm open to anything. But if I ask you or Matt or anyone else, hey, where were you, the day JFK got shot? I think we're all young enough to go, we were nowhere.
Right.
So, it might be a fair assumption to go, you're going to go right back to that place. So, no, I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, I feel at this point, my house is 220 years old. I feel like at this point, I would have seen a ghost if there were ghosts. There's a lot of history in this house.
I'm not really into that stuff, but my wife is. But check out the Blackwell Ghost. It's a series on. It's a documentary series on Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video, and it's a freaky. It's about this filmmaker in Lexington, Kentucky, who starts exploring the existence of this ghost in some guy's house in Pennsylvania, and it's really weird. It's I don't know if he made me believe there's ghosts, or if it's like a filmmaker being able to make shit happen and making you believe shit. But I don't know. It's a pretty cool. It's a
Blackwell Ghost.
The Blackwell Ghost.
Okay.
So let's just get into your podcast.
Sure.
Tell us about your podcast.
Well, we say it's an education podcast with a twist. We don't know what the twist is. We haven't figured that out yet. We put it on all our branding before we figured that out, because we're super smart. Basically what it is me and my podcasting partner, Lily, we bonded over just talking about things that you don't really learn about in school. And why we learn about Edison and not Nikola Tesla, which was a recent episode.
I listened to that one. It was good.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. And we just kind of bonded over that, and we wanted to be able to have a forum where we were discussing these things, but also maybe teaching people some things. So we've got really cool ones coming. I don't know when this comes out, but we have an episode coming out on this coming Wednesday that's language, and it's 23 words that people feel but can't explain. So it's a lot of very ethereal, try to figure out how to explain very strange words, and that's coming out this week. But sometimes it's just, art class. We're going to talk about Salvador Dali and the life of Salvador Dali and just how interesting that is. And we're starting to write season 2 now, and we're talking about things like, just the life of Anthony Bourdain, who just sort of gets condensed down into a cooking show, but is actually a fascinating figure in sort of modern culture and what he's gone through in his life. So the idea is to kind of teach people what you don't learn in school, and we always, with Nikola Tesla, we left it out of the episode, but we kind of always go back to Topsy the elephant, which was the elephant that Albert Einstein murdered in front of a crowd of people to show that Nikola Tesla's technology was dangerous.
So, do you know how I found out about that story, Lucas?
Wow.
Do you want to take a guess, or just?
I'm guessing it wasn't my show.
No, it was an episode of Bob's Burgers. So.
Oh yeah, Lily told me after the fact that was on an episode of Bob's Burgers.
I watched it with my 12-year-old son, and my son was like, "Is that true?" And I'm like, "Well, let's go to Wikipedia."
Yep.
And sure enough, there it was.
He put copper fittings on the elephant's feet, and fed it cyanide-laced carrots beforehand to make sure that it died. And
Fix was in.
So for us to be like, why is this the guy we're learning about in elementary school and junior high and all of these things, and not Nikola Tesla, who ultimately died penniless in a hotel room in New York City?
You should do one on. I'm not telling you what to do, but you should do one on. What's his name? Von Braun.
Ooh.
I learned about all that from watching Archer, the cartoon. So
I would love Archer.
I'm a cartoon guy.
Yeah, and it's obviously an H. John Benjamin fan. So
yeah.
Where did that interest come from or that desire to come to educate people about what you're not educated about?
Well, when you kind of look around and you see how much bullshit is, and I can say that, right? How much just around us is just clearly not true, and the sort of manufacturing of misinformation. I always felt pretty passionately that, they're never going to teach you the things that you need to know to displace the people in power now. And, and trying to keep it apolitical, it's important to know the truth, and the truth kind of will push you through life a lot faster than lies.
Yeah, I dug up a quote, Lucas, and I'll bet you'll like this. I always try to do one quote because the theme of our podcast is the smartest guy in the room, which, I spent a bunch of years in corporate around a lot of aggressive people that always felt the need to act like or be the smartest guy in the room. And I found it really annoying. Because, there's plenty of ways to be the smartest guy in the room, and sometimes it's leaving the room. But I found one that I thought fit for today, and it's by a woman named Dorothy Parker. She wrote a book, Enough Rope, I guess, to Hang Yourself.
Famous.
What's interesting, I'll tie it back to my pal Otis here. When him and I started formulating this podcast, both his kids are adults or in their 20s, and they're doing pretty well in life. And I have younger kids, so I was trying to pull from him what are some of his best practices as it relates to parenting. And he said, I gave my kids enough rope to hang themselves. So bring it back to this lady, Dorothy Parker, and she said that there is no cure for curiosity.
It's true.
You should be a student of life, which is what Tesla was, right? And some of your other heroes in this world. So anyway, I'll throw it back to one of you guys because I'm out of steam of saying dumb things.
I've got all sorts of dumb things I could say. But
so how's the podcast going?
Pretty well. We do batch recording. So we have these sort of like really aggressive weeks where we record 3 or 4 of those episodes in a day, and just railroad through, and then we're exhausted and we don't want to talk to each other for a week. And but for the most part, we have a tremendous amount of fun. It took us probably 4 or 5 episodes to really actually find the fun in it, which was, we had to fire somebody from the show, but that was fine. And
How'd that go?
awkwardly.
Yeah.
So, because basically Lily and I, we like doing homework. We like reading about things. We assign each other things to do. I have work that I have to do today that Lily has assigned me to contribute to an episode that she's leading. And like when she did the episode on pink tax, I had no clue what pink tax was, and it took over
either.
my life for a couple of days. Pink tax, and of course I'll encourage people to go and listen to the episode, but Lily did an amazing job. Pink tax is sort of a premium put on women's goods. So women's razors, if you look at them in the same aisle as a men's razor, it's the same thing, but it's colored pink, and it costs 25-35% more. Tampons have this sort of extra pricing put onto them. They're literally in some states taxed with a luxury tax. And there's a lot of sort of theorizing around the fact that women's pants don't have pockets. There's kind of a conspiracy theory, but has some weight to it that drives the purse industry. Things like
haircuts.
Funny.
Like I can get a haircut for like $10 myself.
Yep.
And my wife's is like $150.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's our econ class was pink tax, and it is fascinating. I didn't know it was a thing, and it just kind of cracked my whole world open, and I love that.
The funny thing is, I listened to that pink tax episode while I was lifting weights, and so it was just kind of funny. But I actually knew about that, and I even knew. It's funny. About 6 weeks ago, I read a story on the lack of pockets in women's clothing and women's pants.
Yep.
So it's weird. I had just been consuming some of this information. My daughter was telling me one day about how much these pads she uses to remove her makeup cost, and I was like astounded. And that's how I learned of the pink tax. But it's messed up. So I mean, there's a lot on your podcast.
And you kind of combine that with the wage gap and things. It's pretty intense.
Yeah. How's the how do you find? I'm looking for the right word. There's so much content out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's producing content, but I often wonder, who's actually listening to that content, and the whole breaking through thing. How do you guys deal with that?
We operate on the theory that if we're having fun, the listeners come, and if we're doing what we want to do, we're not going to bend in the wind to attract listeners. I mean, obviously I'm going to look at metrics and I'm going to see some things, and there was we looked at some metrics and we knew that we didn't have a large female listenership, so that drove the pink tax episode. We were like, well, why we're not talking about women? And that also, this week's episode, we have our first guest that is a woman, because we realized that. But for the most part, we just do what we want to do and have fun. And if people want to listen, awesome. That's great. If they don't, I don't care. So it's really more about me and Lily.
Analytics.
It's more about me and Lily having fun and getting having an outlet for our constant curiosity.
And people can smell bullshit. Like if you're not being authentic, people are gonna recognize that, and it's gonna turn them off, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, agree. Good.
You're absolutely right.
How do you know Lily?
Lily and I were working at the same place at one point. She works. She's in the theater industry, and when COVID hit, she was no longer able to work. So, and I met her, and we just kind of just started talking one day. She's about 20 years younger than me, and we just kind of found the same focus on, the same levels of bullshit. And I had this idea for partial credit sort of years ago and had never really found anybody to pursue it with. And then I pitched it to Lily one day, and we brought on another friend, and away we went. And
yeah.
Awesome.
Jerry and I have known each other since we were like 8 years old.
yeah, I've only known Lily for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So, if not a little bit less. I think about that. So a lot of our show is us also getting to know each other at the same time. We were on somebody else's podcast last week, and she said something about her partner, and I was like, I didn't even know she had a fucking boyfriend. So much of our relationship is just an exchange of facts about other people. We don't talk about ourselves very much.
I kind of feel like I know too much about Jerry.
Yeah, when you got that much timeline, I mean, we're all in our 40s here, I think.
There's so much more you don't know.
Jerry and I are in our 50s.
Oh, okay. Well, you look like you're in your 40s. How about that? Yeah, to have that 3 decades plus or 4 decades plus of a friendship is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's like I have 10 brothers and sisters, and I would trade a bunch of them for some of the friends I've made in life.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Take that for what it's worth.
Just don't name them.
We're coming up on our time, Mr.
Yeah.
Lucas, and we've really enjoyed you.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and just crown you the smartest guy in this room. And that's really no compliment. So but thanks for joining.
Lucas, thank you, and say hello to Lily.
Yes.
I will.
And if nothing else, I found a new podcast that I can listen to because I'm a pretty voracious listener of them, and I enjoyed your show, buddy. So
Well, I
have a good
appreciate
one.
that. Thank you so much, guys. I really like your show too.
Everyone else should listen to Partial Credit Podcast.
Yeah,
Partial credit with
we're out
Lucas.
there.
All right, enjoy the Vermont.
Oh, it's turning green.
Right on, man. Take care, guys. Take care,
Take
Maddie.
care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.